Relax. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Welcome to Pillow Talk Radio, the most delicious place to be. On this podcast, we explore how to create more connection, possibility, romance, and magic in love and in life. I'm your host and relationship specialist, Cora Boyd. Are you with me? Good morning, little pillow talkers. We're back for another episode of Pillow Talk Radio. I just got back from a little rendezvous on Orcas Island, which was awesome and beautiful and very interesting. I had a lot of emotion moving through me this weekend. It was a good reminder of what it is to just be a little human in a little human body, flopping around, feeling things. So I hope you're allowing yourself to be a little human and feel the things you're feeling. Today is going to be a bite-sized episode, a little appetizer, if you will, for some conversational strategy and skills and a quick little framework for building rapport, building connection with anyone. So the first thing when it comes to connecting with someone new, and whether this is in a dating capacity, whether this is with a new friend, colleague, whatever, someone's aunt, doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter who the other person is because it's the same for anyone. So the first thing, just to prime our mindset around this, is when it comes to connecting, it's not about efficiency. It's not about how quickly can we get all of the information about ourselves out on the table so we know exactly what's up and great, we have a connection, right? It's a process of unfolding little by little yourself and the other person and discovering the ways in which you connect, the ways in which you align, the ways in which you maybe don't align. And sometimes we can connect through not aligning on something, right? So first off, I really want you to think of this as not a process of efficiency, but a process of discovery. That being said, we can relax. We can relax. We can let there be silence when there's going to be a little bit of silence. We can let there be curiosity where we don't understand them or we don't feel connected, right? We're bringing our curiosity, we're bringing our discovery, and we're bringing that to another person through conversation. We're like, I wonder what you're about. And I'm going to share a little bit about what I'm about, and let's explore how we connect. The next thing to recognize and realize is that in order for us to have a connection, it's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. So most of us have gotten the memo that, yeah, we need to be listening, right? Maybe we've gotten feedback on that. Maybe we've read it somewhere. It's, okay, if you're meeting someone new, you got to be listening. Because the important thing for both people to feel connected is that they feel seen and they also feel that they see the other person. So if we're showing up very one-sided in that, let's say we're showing up and we're only sharing. We're like, oh, here's all about me, get to know me. Here's all, a bunch of stories, things I've been through, what I think, blah, 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 blah. That's all awesome. We're in the spotlight conversationally. And the other person doesn't really get the opportunity to feel seen, to feel like you know them, to feel like you understand them, to feel like you care about knowing and understanding them. So on the opposite side of that spectrum, we have listening, right? Listening, holding space for the other person, and inviting them to step into the conversational spotlight. Listening and holding space, of course, is very important for the other person to feel seen and like you know them and like you care about getting to know them. And if we go too far in this direction without taking the spotlight ourselves, without sharing ourselves, there's no connection, because while the other person might feel that they had a very productive therapy session, and let's be real, we all love to talk about ourselves, while they might have enjoyed themselves, they won't actually feel connected to you because they don't feel that they know you, see you, understand you, etc. So it's very important for a connection to build that we both take the conversational spotlight and allow the other person the opportunity to get to know us, and we invite the other person into the conversational spotlight so that we can get to know them and they can get to feel seen, understood, and like we care about getting to know them. So it really is this art form of sharing and inviting to share. Both are very, very important for there to be an actual connection established. So as you're listening to this, I just want you to ask yourself, which one do you feel more comfortable doing? Some of us, by default or through experiences we might have had or whatever it might be, feel more comfortable taking up space. Some of us feel more comfortable holding space. And I want you to ask yourself, which one feels like more of your comfort zone and which one feels like one that you could use a little self-encouragement on. So connecting with another person really gets to be this game. And we can assume going into this game that we already have a connection with the other person. We already connect on certain things. There are already ways in which we uniquely align. And the game of connecting is simply discovering what those ways are. So this is a very, very important foundational element, is assuming you already have a connection, because you absolutely do. We're all just people in these flesh suits going through life, wanting to be loved and love, wanting to have novel experiences, wanting to learn, wanting to evolve, wanting to grow, looking to the world around us, trying to make meaning of it. It doesn't matter who we are. It doesn't matter where we come from or what we've done. We absolutely have something in common with every single person, every single person on the planet. So it is absolutely true that you do already have a connection. And coming into a conversation from that place of eagerness, from that place of discovery, makes it so much more fun to build rapport, because it takes out the anxiety and makes it a process of, oh, I wonder what it is. I wonder how we connect. Let's find out. So you're setting yourself up to win, and you're setting them up to win by assuming that you already have a connection, and through conversation, you get to discover what it is and you get to participate in the creation of what it is. So to break this down into very simple terms, when we're in conversation with someone new and we're building rapport, we are always connecting through content or through disposition. What I mean when I say content is, we can understand this as kind of like the surface level area, right? Covering surface level area. So we may have been to the same place. We may have had a similar kind of education. We may have had parents who were a little offbeat and artistic. We may have read the same book. We may have researched the same ideas. So it's an overlap in content, an overlap in shared material, shared experience, shared surface area. When I say that we connect through disposition, what I mean by that is there is a framework of values, beliefs, humor, driving questions, motivations, intentions, etc., all of which inform the experiences we pursue, the content we pursue, etc., the way we show up in different circumstances. So that's why I say humor. Humor is a disposition, having adjacent or complementary sense of humor. That's connecting through disposition. So disposition is what is underneath motivating us and informing our behaviors, informing what experiences we pursue, informing how we perceive things, etc. So when we're connecting with someone through disposition, let's say they're sharing a story and they mention an insight that they had around rave culture. And maybe they find it overwhelming, right? Maybe they're like, oh my God, I just really can't do big crowds. And you're like, oh, you really connect on that disposition of feeling overwhelmed around big crowds. And you're like, oh, me too. Or let's say they let's say they're telling you about a time that they went to a furry convention with their cousin. And that content-wise is not something you've experienced, but they're telling you, I didn't know what it was all about, but I just really appreciate people gung-ho going after what they're into unapologetically. So they're describing the disposition that led them to pursue that certain experience. And you haven't had that content experience, and you really connect with the disposition of appreciating people unapologetically, deep divedly, which is a word now, going after what they're into. So underneath content and disposition is our value system, because our value system informs our disposition around certain things. Our value system informs the content we're pursuing, whether that's knowledge, information, experience, whatever. And the content we've been exposed to also informs how we form our values, what we learn to value, etc. So it's all connected underneath to values. So as you're in conversation with someone, we can just play this game coming from this place of knowing, oh, I already have a connection with this person. I'm so excited to find out what it is. And as we're talking, we listen for what's the point of connection and what they're saying. Do we connect with the content of what they're saying? Have we experienced that thing? Do we know about that thing? Have we researched that thing? Have we been curious about that thing? Whatever it might be, we can connect through the content of it, and we can also connect through the disposition. So if you don't connect with anything of what they're saying content-wise, looking at what is the underlying disposition. If you're not sure, you can just ask them follow-up questions of like, whoa, interesting. What compelled you to do that? Or how did you find out about that? Just ask follow-up questions until you feel a point of connection, either through content or through disposition, right? And you're inviting them to be in the conversational spotlight as you're doing this. And as we're finding these points of connection, either through content or disposition or values, which are connected to both, you're starting to infer what someone values through what they're sharing with you. You get to speak to how that all shows up for you, how that has shown up for you in your life, etc. And a few just little verbiage strategy nuggets to keep the ball rolling on this. And again, allowing for flow, allowing for silence, allowing for the conversation to go all over the place, because it's not about efficiency. It's not about knowing everything about a person in the first 10 minutes. It's about creating a connective foundation for both people to feel comfortable and invited to share and continuously unfold who they are, what's important to them, so that we can mutually discover and create our connection. So, follow-up questions, the little verbiage nuggets, what I like to call looping, which is just speaking of, right? Someone shares a story about a basket weaving class they took with 7 old ladies. And maybe they took that basket weaving class because they wanted to meet other young people when they moved somewhere, but it ended up being them and 7 old ladies, and they're telling you about it. And let's say what you connect to, the content you connect to in that is the experience of learning from elders, right? Maybe you haven't done basket weaving, but you spent a summer working at a retirement home. So you start to connect through that content to the disposition of, isn't it amazing to humble yourself to learn from people who've been around longer than you, right? And then you start to connect through that and you share, oh, wow. Speaking of, I actually spent a summer working at a retirement community, and it completely changed my perspective on XYZ and really gave me an appreciation for youth and health and energy, or, whatever it is. It's just speaking of, and you loop in, right? You loop in. And this doesn't have to be linear. They're sharing something, you're sharing something, and then you start to put the pieces together of the disposition and what you like, exploring and going deeper into those experiences together and what you learn from that. Another is just tell me more. If you have no idea what your point of connection to what they just said is, you can't identify a content connection or disposition connection, just go deeper. Just go deeper and come from a place of curiosity where you're wanting to understand more about them, more about this experience, more about what they learned, whatever it is. Invite them to step into the conversational spotlight with just, oh, tell me more, or how interesting, right? Like affirming what you're hearing them say. Another one is strength spotting. This is something I work with my clients in depth around. It's so deeply connective to when you notice a strength that someone has or something about them that you really like, just verbally calling attention to that and saying, it seems like it's really important for you to have creative outlets in your life. I really like that. So you're letting them know that you see them. You're letting them know that you appreciate them. And it's also an invitation for them to share more. They feel seen and connected and flattered. So those are 3 really easy things to come back to either encourage someone to expand on what they're telling you, or to come in and say, oh, speaking of, here's how, I had a similar experience, or I also really love XYZ, or whatever it might be. Strength spotting, speaking of, tell me more. So from this place, you can really connect with anyone. And this gets to become a game that you get better and better at, to the point where you're not even thinking about it in conversation, right? To the point where you're like, oh, content, disposition. Oh, cool. What's the tell me more, strength spot, etc. You get so good at this that you're not even thinking about this. So this is really a little toolbox for you to have in your back pocket for when you feel nervous, or when you feel like you can't think of anything to say, or for when you feel like you are struggling to connect with someone. It's just remember in the back of your mind, content or disposition. Strength spot, speaking of, tell me more. And you can bust one of these little bad boys out whenever, remembering that of course you can build, and of course you already have a connection with literally anyone. It's just a matter of discovering it. And we can discover it through this game of connecting through content and disposition. So go out this week, try this out. I hope this was helpful. Let me know how it goes. Send me a DM or send my team an email, hello@coraboydcoaching.com, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Pillow Talk Radio. I'm Cora Boyd, and make sure to subscribe so we can keep you in the loop. In the interim, you can find me on Instagram at @theCoraBoyd, YouTube Cora Boyd, website coraboydcoaching.com. Have an excellent rest of your day, night, morning, evening, whatever it is, wherever you are, and we'll catch you next week.